We're live.
Are you getting scared, Lou?
I was scared before we got here.
Oh, so the wonderful computer has again changed the labyrinth. Whoa, turn that down. We're feedbacking.
Yeah, turn it down here.
There we're good.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah, so they changed the feed, or what do you call it? The way to get through the labyrinth to make a live stream go. Oh, you know, we're just going to rearrange this for no reason. So that's been a lot of fun.
We figured it out, though.
Thanks for your patience. We intended to go live at 7 o'clock, but here we are.
Here we are.
So today we're going to take questions on anything to do with long-range shooting. We're going to give you the no BS answers. So this is one of the rare opportunities where you can ask straight up a question. Rex, does this item suck, or is it awesome, or what do you think? And we'll give you the straightforward answers this time. Because, you know, one thing we discovered doing some of the live fire events is that these guys depend on our honesty to select the right equipment.
Yes, sir.
And we can't just be nice for the sake of being nice. If something is not going to work, I want to be able to save people some money and a lot of frustration. So that's one thing we go over in RX-17 seminar when we talk about equipment selection in pretty good detail. We always try to do it by pushing the really good stuff and kind of just maybe not commenting on the not so good stuff that doesn't work. But hey, we're here now.
You got to step on some toes.
Sometimes you got to break some eggs. Yep, step on some toes to make an omelet of truth.
First question, is Casey turning into a hippie?
Yes. So as we are approaching All Hallows Eve, Casey, in keeping with her traditional religious situation here, has the, you know, want to know the actual, we're on truth mode. We're on truth mode.
No BS here tonight,
Casey
folks.
comes over for the meeting in someone else's pajamas over here, and so she looked kind of like a train hobo, like I normally do when I don't put on the nice shirt. So she's like, hey, we're going live? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have nothing to wear. It was either this or the ghillie suit. This is out of the closet. This is a rock and roll outfit. Check it out. Show the sleeves.
All right. This is real.
Yeah, this is from like 1973.
This is when you come over to Rex unprepared. This is what he has to borrow you for outfits.
Not the headband, but check out this cool leather. Show the buttons on the vest. And the button's still on there. It's got the leather tassels and stuff.
It's pretty fancy.
Authentic.
Vintage.
That's not from Spencer's or nothing. That's the real deal. My old man used to use that when he was playing on stage 6 nights a week back in the early 70s. It's an actual rock and roll outfit right there.
Yep.
And it smells like it, too.
It actually does
you
smell
can't
awesome.
experience that over the internet tonight, but
rawhide.
It's got
and cigarettes. There's probably half a pack of smokes in the pocket still, Pall Malls or something.
So come prepared, otherwise
Rex don't come to Rex's house to do a live stream in someone else's pajamas. You might end up wearing the Steppenwolf costume. Oh dear.
Other than that, how about what are your thoughts on 6.5 Creedmoor?
6.5 Creedmoor. It's a very nicely balanced round for target shooting. I think that it's a great round for learning how to do long-range shooting. It'll get you out to 1,400 yards. I originally did not like it because it was a bandwagon round. Everyone jumped on board with it because of its superior magical powers. That was my attitude. After I got to shoot them, they're nice round. The truth is there's no magic cartridge that's going to give you any magical ability to shoot farther or more straight than anyone else. There are subtle tiny differences that make a cartridge more or less conducive to being maybe more inherently accurate, maybe a little more efficient due to the proportionality of the case, whatever, everything balances out. That being said, the 6.5 is a totally adequate round. It's nice. I don't think it's vastly superior to other rounds in that class. You know, it's a 308 case in that 6.5 millimeter class. There's a lot of other stuff in that general category too. But to make a long story short, now that it's become so popular because it originally was a bandwagon round, in my opinion, there's a lot of companies that stepped up the plate to accommodate people's needs in terms of producing really good factory ammo, and the rifles being produced for it are typically configured for precision applications with the correct twist rates and all the tackle you'll need to shoot long range. So now it's actually a formidable option in terms of what's available. And for logistical, civilian target shooting capacity, it's a great round to choose. And actually, I'm probably going to end up getting one. I've been testing 2 of them for 6 months now in the axial precision convergence rifles, and they shoot awesome. We're shooting out to a mile with them damn things. So it's a good round. 6.5 Creedmoor is a great round.
Do you prefer first focal plane or second?
I prefer first focal plane for long range shooting, where you do complex firing solutions. There's different preferences there. If you're a really, really smart guy and you're really experienced in what you're doing on how to balance firing solutions, you can get away with the advantages of the second focal plane because they do have a they do have a finer aiming point. However, you're going to have to do more math, and you're going to have greater awareness of where you're at in terms of your magnification settings. So like my friend Charlie Melton, he's Charlie Mike Precision. He actually prefers second focal plane because it's a finer crosshairs. Aim small, miss small. A lot of other operators do run that, but you're going to have to be a smart guy to operate it properly. In my experience, even a lot of smart guys, when they're in a rush with the second focal plane, get confused at some point and they foobar the situation by forgetting that they're at the wrong power setting. And so for people who use the reticle for holding off the target, you're going to need to have a first focal plane unless you're really smart. And even I'm not that smart under pressure. So I prefer first focal plane because it's simple.
Or have really good training under your belt.
Yeah, really good training, but that'll take you years of experience to get so intimately familiar with exactly what you're doing before you can really balance everything out at extreme long. I'm talking extreme long range shooting, guys, where you have to apply various different kinds of hold off and mix different firing solutions together and possibly calculate a mover in with the wind and with a spin drift all at the same time. If your stuff isn't like, if your reticle isn't at the right denominations in with your turrets, it's going to be hard to balance that equation. So most guys prefer first focal plane for that reason, especially for high stress environments.
Oh, sorry, I was reading a couple different things. Somebody had asked, will switching the AccuStock on a Savage to a Mcmillan increase accuracy? Mr. Heimer?
Yes. I like a streamlined, simple stock design. The Mcmillan stock is a big monolithic piece of heavy-duty fiberglass, very, 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 very rigid. Maximum rigidity will pay off in the long run. If you're not, Mcmillan's really at the top of the line when you're talking about rifle stocks for precision shooting, in my opinion. I think that's like, if I had to equip a bunch of guys or make a suggestion on spared no expense, what's the best rifle stock for a long range rifle, I would probably say Mcmillan A5 or an A4, whatever your particular configuration preference would be between those two. But a heavy-duty fiberglass stock is going to be a heck of a lot better, in my opinion, than something that's more complex and has things to wiggle loose, because it will wiggle loose, and you will start noticing. You're going to wonder if your scope is off or something. There's other things just being, and you're going to want it bedded properly to that action as well, obviously. So proper bedding is going to be important with any of them.
Thoughts on the Serbu 50 cal?
Yeah, I never got a lot of checker time on the Serbus. A buddy of mine, actually one of the guys who trained me up way back in the day on this stuff, really liked his Serbu 50 cal. And they shoot good. I know they're accurate. But I like the, for an over-the-counter civilian AR or a 50 caliber rifle, like a target rifle, if you want maximum accuracy as your deal, I think the AR-50 by Armalite's the best value. For $2,500 or whatever they are nowadays, I don't know, you can probably find a used one. You can really, really get an accurate rifle that handles nice. Now, they're a beast, and they're stupidly heavy, and they're cumbersome, and the footprint is ginormous. So they're not, like, friendly for carrying around. But if accuracy is your priority and you want to be on a budget, AR-50 is hard to beat, in my opinion. The RPA rifle is supposed to be very, very accurate as well. For 50 calibers, I know that my buddy Eduardo likes to use the Steyr 50. But if you're in like a combat deal and you need more shots, then you're going to need a Barrett, like an M107 or an M82 for an anti-material rifle that's not like a precision anti-material, but maybe like stopping a bunch of vehicles trying to get you or something, or like multiple target engagement or moving target engagement. A Barrett's going to be the best.
Okay. Modular chassis. What do you think about that? Action with maybe changeable barrel, 338 to 308.
Oh, okay, that's a good question, guys. There's a lot of good quality stuff. There's a lot of medium quality stuff. There's a lot of low quality stuff when you talk about these modular rifle configurations. Even the best stuff, in my experience, can fail. The more complex you get, especially. And I don't like modular rifles, in my opinion, because you had more, the easier something is to take apart, the easier it is for something to wiggle loose. And in my experience from a lot of guys who I've talked to who run some of the, even the highest top-notch stuff, break it or get it to wiggle loose. We even had a guy at the last class who had a really nice rifle done by a very reputable company and an AR configuration with a quick detached barrel, and that damn thing came loose, and we were off by this much at 100 trying to figure out what was going on. We thought it was a fundamentals and marksmanship issue at first, and it would group very well, and then it'd shift 0, and it grouped really well over here. Then it would be like a 6-inch group, and we're trying to figure out what the heck was going on. And it turned out to be the barrel came loose. So I like simplicity, and that's just my preference, is something that has the least amount of potential areas for something to wiggle loose, because Murphy's Law comes around to visit me a lot. So, and you're talking about modularity, you can just get another rifle too. For actually probably, you could get 2 really good shooting rifles in 2 different calibers for 2 different purposes for cheaper, probably, than some of these high-end modular rigs. So if you're trying to save money there too, and have a setup that's like that, that's a good way to go. But I do know guys who like the Desert Techs and some of them outfits, and they shoot good when they work good, but they also can break down like anything else. And my preference is just a standard design rifle type deal that's not as modular.
Let me see here. What's up here? 243 for long range?
Yep, 243 for long range. It's awesome. Yeah, pretty effective, out to 1200 for sure. You can shoot farther than that if you get the right bullets and really know what you're doing, if you get your dope right. Most of it's going to be about how well you balance your information and understand your ballistics and get it dialed in, and how well you can shoot, how well you can drive that rifle. But if everything else is good in the equation, and 243 is not going to limit you, as you know, it's going to be a great round. It's a great practice round. You're not going to have a lot of energy on target, so if you're target shooting, it's a great round. If you're killing stuff, it's not a great round for long range hunting or killing bad guys or whatever. You're going to want something with more poop.
Art Sakanicker, I think is what his name is, says, Rex, does SWFA 3 to 15 by 42 have accurate turret adjustments?
I have not put one of the, wait, the 3 to 15?
Yep.
Yeah. When I tested the 3 to 15 a few years ago, it was very similar in its performance in terms of tracking to the straight 10 powers that I've been running forever. I got a few of them. Now, when we say tracking, the reliability of the tracking is good. It has good tracking repeatability, so it'll go back to where you put it. Now, the precision of the tracking is a little bit off on the SWFAs. You ain't going to get tracking graduation precision. That's talking about when you click 7 mils, it actually moves 7 exact mils. You're not going to get that in a Japanese scope of that quality, in that price range. It's not going to happen. But you will have reliability, which is the main thing, because you can adjust your tables. If you come to an RX-17 live fire, we actually correct for that in your tables. We make you do a tracking test on the scope using the box to bench targets that show you how the scope's tracking. And we got a guy who's smart with his math on the computers, and he corrects your tables for that optic.
We got a class coming up too, don't we?
Yeah, the next one is here actually in November. Veterans Day is the next class. That's all filled in almost instantly. That's been sold out forever. That's in Dallas. And then the one after that, if you're anywhere on the West Coast and you ever want to do one of these deals, it's the last class we have on the books for right now, and it's at in Central California. And you can find those at rexreviews.org. Click under the training tab, and it'll have available classes. And that one still has some seats open, especially for folks who've taken the seminar and you want to get in on a shooting class anywheres on the West Coast. That's probably going to be the last one we have out in that area for a while. And that'll be St. Patrick's Day of 2018, so March, right?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Yep, so St. Patrick's Day weekend of 2018, 3-day course. You'll be like going from wherever you're at now to very comfortable at 1,000 range, or at 1,000 yards of distance. So it'll be fun. Hope to see you guys out there if you can make it.
gonna be a good time.
Yeah, we'll have fun. Whoever shows up, we're gonna have way too much fun.
North Georgia Preparedness wants to know, what do you think about Remington 700 ADL chambered in 300 Win Mag? I got it for $400 new.
Okay, my Remington ADL is in 7mm Magnum, and it shoots incredibly well. Like 5 shots on your thumbnail or under a nickel, like half-minute gun consistently. And it's got a pencil barrel, and it's got a wood stock, and it's from the 70s though. Now the newer ones, if it's a newer model in a 300 mag, it's going to be somewhat synonymous with the 7mm Magnum. I wouldn't bet on getting that kind of precision out of it. You might get lucky and land on one where everything's cut square, but I think the tooling in the Remington 700 plant, where they actually make the old 700s, it's old tooling, and if I'm remembering correctly from what I've heard, and so you'll have to test it and see how well it shoots. If it's not shooting well, you might have to have the action trude or lap the lugs or do a bedding job or free float the barrel, or maybe even, you know, go a little further and have the chamber cut properly. So yep, you'll have to do empirical testing. A lot of guys ask, how well is my rifle going to shoot? You're never going to know until you try it. Even really crappy cheap rifles a lot of times shoot awesome. Sometimes expensive ones don't shoot for crap. So you have to really try it and see if it works. If it does work, then don't mess with it. If it doesn't work, then you'll know. Then you'll have to mess with it.
Somebody asked something here. I have never really heard you talk about an accurized M14 as an option.
Sure, that's something we mentioned on a few of the live streams and a lot of the podcast shows. If you guys miss out on the podcast, we have like 4-hour-long shows, really, really high quality audio, like professional radio style quality audio. And we talk about all kinds of stuff. And we do an hour's worth of questions and answers at least for the first half of it. And then for the second hour, we just talk about firearms. And we talk about this question a lot. You talk about an M1A or an M14 style rifle accurized. They can be accurized to a degree, but you need to find a master guy who's into that particular rifle, because there's a lot of weird idiosyncrasies to that design which make it a real bugger to accurize. The actuating rod flexes under when it's firing, and the stresses on there have to, like, it has to rub evenly on its way back and forth. They got get everything centered just right on where it locks up, with the gas system kind of bumps up against that. I forget what the part's called. where it locks up there, it's got to mate evenly and touch on both sides. There's a lot of weird stuff in that design that makes them difficult to shoot good. And you'll usually shoot a very small group and then 1 or 2 flyers off to the side, so you never get a true, like, you know, half-minute performance out of them, unless you really land on a good one. They're tricky. They're very tricky. So they can be accurized, but you need to find the right guy to do that.
Andrew Young wants to know, do you like Johnny Cash? Because you dress a lot like the Man in Black.
Yeah, Johnny Cash is pretty cool. You know, I'm not like a Johnny Cash like aficionado too much, but there was a psychological operations approach Johnny Cash took to his outfit. Johnny Cash didn't want people to be paying attention to his flamboyant outfit too much. He wanted them to pay attention to what was being communicated in the music. And likewise, I like to just, I don't know. I think it's cool too, but
and black is slimming, right?
Yeah, black makes me look more in shape, right? See, I look more like Schwarzenegger like this.
We got quite a few questions on different bullets here.
Yeah,
Alco, Burger.
Sure. What are they asking about bullets?
Hornady.
In a pinch, which bullets do you go with?
In a pinch, what for what?
Like, I'm assuming,
is that
like,
the whole
money
question?
Pinch. Well, somebody asked Alco versus bullets, but somebody earlier asked, you know,
Burger versus Alco, etc., etc.
In a pinch, you just grab whatever you got.
Yeah.
Whatever's in the mag.
Yeah, in a pinch, I mean whatever's in the mag, exactly.
Do you have like a preferred bullet company that you?
Okay, so I generally prefer Sierra for my high volume guns that I shoot a lot out of. They're affordable. They generally fly really straight. They're easy to find. They have good logistical compatibility with other systems. A lot of the military bullets are very similar, if not a Sierra Match King type design. They're kind of the world standard for a long time in a good precision rifle bullet. They're not the most expensive. They don't got the highest BCs, but overall for the value, I prefer Sierra. If you really want something that's incredibly awesome for special purposes, where you need maximum external ballistic performance, Burger is my favorite. Because they fly really good. And they got high BCs.
Sarge605, love the podcast. My cell phone died during the episode on EMP.
Oh, that sucks.
Scared the poop out of me.
That's
Love
a
it.
podcast episode. If you want to hear the podcast, www.rexreviews.org, podcast button.
Yeah, click
And
on podcast. It's all over.
We've got an hour-long interview with one of the expert guys on what would happen if the EMP would shut us down. Really good episode. We actually did a YouTube thing on that too, with the interview on there. But if you want the full episode, go to the podcast. Subscribe to that thing too. There's a newsletter you can subscribe to. They'll give you all our updates.
Is this your girlfriend or your wife?
Which one?
Or one of your wives?
These guys are both in my harem. No,
oh my God.
This is
yeah.
my little sister, Casey Day. What are you guys talking about? And we
Yeah.
got Lulu over here.
Yeah. Lou's his wife, but I'm
What?
not. He's
Oh,
part of.
all right.
They've got
Next
that harem
question.
thing. Just kidding.
If you don't know what we're talking about, the harem's inside joke, listen to the podcast. We do Bible studies that are rock and roll Bible studies, and we talk about harems and everything in there. It's pretty fun.
All
It's
the
great.
good stuff.
Yeah, the stuff that Lou likes to read about.
The juicy stuff.
He picks out the good parts of the Bible.
Yeah.
Do you believe Hornady 308 bullet ELDX BDC .777?
Really? Is that what they're advertising?
That's kind of high, isn't it?
I don't use those. I use Sierra 175s.
This is
Do I
your
believe that?
sister? Close enough.
My spiritual sister, guys. Come on, get with the program. If we're of the same mindsets, you are my brothers and sisters, okay?
There you go.
Okay.
Spiritually.
Okay, let me see here. I like it, man, so far. 4x14 HUD reticle is up to hype.
That was more of a statement, wasn't it?
Yep, sorry. I'm just reading through. Someone has to ask the awkward question. True story, home runner.
How to improve the Sega 308 for more accuracy.
That's
What's that dude's name? Here's a guy that I want to interview, that I want to send my Sega 223 to. He does these incredible conversions, and he'll get it to shoot that good. He knows how to run them. Man, let me find his name here.
Well played, Frank.
What happened?
He reminded us of the episode. Never mind.
That's pretty
Yeah, shoot, I don't know. I know that like Rob Zatorsky has a couple of them. Dimitri for Primary Arms uses them, and a lot of the other YouTube reviewing guys have used this guy. I want to say it's like a Deviant. I don't know what the hell it's called. It's an AK outfit.
Definitive Arms.
Definitive Arms. Thank you, guys. It blends in with the other names. Yes. Definitive Arms is the place. They can really get your Kalashnikov to shoot very straight. And yes, Kalashnikovs can be every bit as accurate as anything else if you get the details right, and have good ammunition. So yeah, and he's not like a well-known guy. He doesn't put a lot of bells and whistles that make it look tactical on there, but he gets the mechanics right. He squares the actions up. He gets the exact right amount of pressure, tension when he's pushing the actions into the trunnion and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of details doing a Kalashnikov. It's a whole different design.
What are your thoughts on a ballistic AE app?
Ballistic AE app.
Mm-hmm.
What's AE?
I don't
Scroll
even
down
know.
so fast I couldn't read it. That's
Sorry,
fine.
it's just that's all it said. Ballistic AE app.
I'm typically not so much of an app guy. If I'm using ballistic computers, I like to use an actual computer. I don't like carrying a cell phone when I'm doing like crazy missions and stuff, right? For numerous reasons, like you're about to take out the bad bunny rabbit or whatever, and the cell phone goes off and scares off the bunny rabbit. That's no good. You can't have that happen. Or someone's texting you, huh?
Do you want to leave this on there? Sorry.
I can't even remember what you're talking about. I don't know. We'll just go on to the next question.
Okay. Just bought a Ruger precision rifle. Friends who are snobs are telling me I wasted my money. I like the way it performs. Thoughts?
Yeah, Ruger precision rifles, you shoot good if you get all the bugs worked out of the buttstock. The rear end on those things are really wiggly, really sloppy, and so you need to tighten it up a little bit.
Don't text while sniping.
That's my complaint with the Ruger precision rifle is there's so much stuff going on the stock to where stuff rattles loose all the time, and that's really, really detrimental to your accuracy if that's what happens. Typically, it's not the rest of the rifle; it's just that. and guys think the rifle's shooting bad, but it's just a stock wiggle loose or something. So if you can correct that it's, I think, a formidable platform. If your friends are poo-pooing you, just make it shoot good and then go shooting with them and beat them.
There you go.
Then you win. But they're a good rifle. I think I've seen them shoot really good.
You need to clone yourself 10 times
I
for
know.
all these questions.
Yeah, dude, I know. I'm sorry, guys. I want to clone myself too.
How a HCR chassis shoot good?
Not familiar with the Howler HCR chassis. Like I said, in general, when you're talking about chassis designs, I can take a glance at it and know if I like it or not. I like it to be a monolithic piece of metal from the action all the way to the buttstock at least. Like, I don't like moving parts or sliding parts or adjustable stuff. If it is, it needs to be very robust in its construction and like tight. And I will wiggle on that crap to see if I can wiggle it. Any discernible wiggle, and I don't like it. That's why I like a very simple stock design like a Mcmillan or a Mirage ULR that's built like a beast, something like that. So there's a million chassis, and a lot of them are really good. But you can usually tell at a glance if it's overly complicated and a little bit intricate and a little bit light duty looking. I don't like it because it'll eventually wiggle loose on you.
So BNT Tactical has a question. Can I answer it too?
Oh yeah, okay. What would you ask?
If you could give one tip for shooting past 1,000 yards, what would it be?
All right, you go, Casey. She did it. She did it a couple weeks ago at the RX-17 class.
So my tip would be your fundamentals. Just have those down pat, because all the other stuff can come with time. And if you have a really good spotter, that's the next thing. If you have a seasoned spotter, they can help you develop your strategies. So all you have to do is have your fundamentals down and a good spotter, in my opinion.
No, that's really good advice, actually. Yep.
And
I'd
good
agree.
glass. You need good optics.
glass.
Yeah, you need good optics to see what the heck's going on. Yeah, I mean, mechanically, the process of shooting stuff at 1,000 yards is very simple. It's very easy. You index a proper firing solution, which if you got your data organized smart, like the way we do it, or the way other people do it that works good, or if you know how to get the correct data out of an app or a computer, if you know how to set that stuff up properly, is the thing where people screw up. But if you got the right data, you simply index that on the rifle. And that's the simple part. And if your equipment is good and sound, it's going to index to where you need it to go. Then it's on you to deliver that shot appropriately and call the wind appropriately, which is going to be the trick.
All right. Your thoughts on zeroing your rifle at 250 instead of the typical 100-meter zero?
Sure, that's a typical method for that, like a lot of hunters do. I do that on my hunting rifles. I'll zero it at more of a little bit longer distance than 100, so you have a longer point blank range zero. Then instead of having to hold over at 250, you can hold right on a deer, for example, out to 300 or whatever, maybe 350 yards, depending on how flat shooting it is. So for a hunting rifle, it's a great way to go. Even for a tactical rifle, a lot of guys will even have a longer distance zero, because the human target's way higher vertically, so you have a lot more forgiveness up and down. So you can zero at 500 yards. Some guys do that. Eduardo, my buddy who I interviewed on the thing, if you haven't seen it yet, from Spain, he's a sniper instructor for 30 years. That's how he zeroes his rifles. He does a 500-yard zero, and you simply employ a reverse image zero using the dots to shoot closer, and then you have a lot more distance where you can see your targets and your dots going down. So there's a million different preferences. They all work if you employ them properly. Do whatever makes sense in your brain, and then make sure you get your data correct. So when you're doing your inputs for a 1,000-yard shot, make sure that your zero range is in fact 250 or whatever. Verify that, and you'll be fine. I zero at 100, but that's because I might take a precision shot at like point blank, like 100 yards or something, or whatever. And to me, it's most of the stuff I shoot is going to be within a mile, so I can zero at 100 and still index in at a mile without a problem.
What would you say to somebody that worked a minimum wage job that wanted to get into long range shooting from the Italian 556?
Sure, minimum wage job. I've done that before too, guys. There's certain jobs that they don't pay you so well for that you even might be a little bit serious at. But what you need to do is just get a sound rifle, get like a Tika, like a target, like a rifle or something like that, or maybe even a Savage in a good caliber, like a 308 or 6.5, and put a decent scope on it that'll be decent and give you less problems. Like what do you call them things? SWFA Super Sniper. I don't even. It's annoying that a guy says it so much, but it's a good scope for $300. It'll work fine. One of the guys that came out to our class, RX-17, actually was running a Savage Model 10, and he had the super sniper. I think it was a straight 12 power, right?
I think so.
Mhm.
And he got one of
Did
the
well.
expert certificates in the class. Like he commanded his shots out to 1,000 yards like a pro. So he was doing as good as the other guys who are running $5,000 rifles. And so it's all going to be on your skill to operate the system if it's a sound system. And a couple good options there's like a Savage or a Tika or a Hawa. Some of those rifles are going to be very consistent, good shooters. Use some like Burris extreme tactical rings. I know they're aluminum. You want a one-piece scope base, probably at the 20-minute angle on there, and then get a bipod, and you're set, man.
Any thoughts on creating some new Bible talk videos? I love those.
Yeah, dude. What do you want to hear about? What part of the Bible you want to talk about?
Right? You guys can ask Bible
Yeah,
questions.
ask
if
a
you
Bible
want.
question. We talk about that on the podcast too. So if you haven't heard the podcast show, usually the third hour is philosophical, or we actually been going through Genesis slowly, and we have the most fun out of any freaking Bible study you've ever seen. I bet you.
Pretty
Rock and roll.
Yeah, I mean, these guys are like, Bible study? Are you serious? I'm like, oh yeah, it's gonna be awesome. And then we did it, and it was awesome.
Yeah, it still is.
Oh, it still is awesome. Come check it out, guys.
I know you have the videos out there on the calc forums.
Mhm.
Could you do another instruction on how to do external ballistics longhand and explain all the ins and outs and
Oh,
such
dear Lord.
in detail?
That's a project, guys.
Ryan's a
That's a
glutton
lot.
for punishment.
Yeah. Woo,
I did that for a
college
couple
course.
years, sitting at a desk one time, 40 hours a week. It's a long story, so I don't really feel like doing that video, man. You can read a physics book though if you want. There's a lot of good sites, and I think you can ask Mecha Streisand questions like that. That's kind of his thing that he loves to do, is get into the ridiculous details, and he's intimate with the math on the inside and the outside because he's programmed it into our Excel spreadsheets. So he'd be a good one to do that. I used to do it longhand with a calculator and a pencil, but I ain't going to be able to answer it on this deal here right now. Sorry.
A lot of questions about the Savage 10 review. When's it coming out?
You want the Savage 10 review right now or what? Where is it? That's not in here.
Let me show you.
It's good. It's a good rifle, man. Like, it consistently shoots under 3/4 minute of angle, no matter what you feed it, if you're doing your part. The stock kind of sucks on the cheap ones, like the plastic stock, but it does work. It does have an aluminum bedding rail on the inside that seems to hold up good. Usually get like almost 3 or 4 rounds on the same hole, and then a flyer maybe a 1/2 inch off to the side of it. Do on your scope rails, take that thing off there and degrease it, and then Loctite them on there, because I wanted to review it straight out of the box without touching anything, and it did come loose. So you gotta, that's just one of the things you gotta demonstrate, and then put a decent scope on there, and you got a hell of a rifle, man. The worst part about the rifle is the stock, in my opinion. You're going to want something with adjustable cheek pieces that built more solidly and more robust. That would make it probably a one-hole gun at that point. But they're an awesome rifle, and yes, I will do that review. I'm back ordered on reviews going over a year, guys, and with having a full-time, we all have full-time jobs on top of this too, and
This is our hobby.
yeah, I sleep like typically I'll try to get 4 hours of sleep a night, but I do want to survive long enough to do a few more classes, so I am not keeping up with the pace of the videos. I like to do a thorough, good job on the videos, and in order to get there's different styles of video reviews. A lot of guys just throw it on the desk like, here's this scope. It looks beautiful. The clicks are so solid feeling. It must work great. And then you take it out there and the damn thing breaks, right? And so I like to thoroughly test stuff. So, for example, Axial Precision and the Savage, I've been shooting them for over 6 months now. Hundreds and hundreds of rounds, lots of different environments, lots of different places to shoot, lots of different people trying it out, observing firsthand, secondhand exactly how they handle, seeing the goofy parts. I like to get intimate with the rifle before I tell you if it's good or not. From the preliminary testing, the Savage is looking good, but the review will be positive on the Savage Model 10 overall. I'd say upgrade to the Mcmillan stock if they can do that, or the HS Precision.
Okay, so here's a religious one.
Oh, I'm ready.
Red Leg 1013 says, okay, thoughts on the...
Oh, I thought you were quoting something from the Bible. I'm like, Red Leg. Not the
Good
Satan Bible.
Good old Red Leg.
You're saying the guy's name. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I
Oh,
can't even
dear.
read now. Thoughts on the vision of 3 angels countermanding the law and allowing the consumption of pork?
Are you talking about with Peter, right?
Well,
Peter had the vision of the sheets or whatever. Is that the one he's talking about?
must be. Let's see if he responds here. Red leg.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
So,
Yeah, I did a whole video on that in my God's Law series playlist. Check it out. I did a half-hour explanation of my full opinion on that.
okay.
But you
There you
still
go.
don't eat pork, right?
I don't. I mean, sometimes I will if that's all there is. But I mean, it's not like in my opinion, it's not like a spiritual thing at all. It's a biological accumulation of biotoxicity issue is why it was unclean. It was literally not clean. Just like it is today. I mean, you get trichinosis, and if you don't cook it right, there's also when you eat a scavenging animal like a sewer rat or a vulture or a swine, they have a huge amount of toxicity in their fat, especially, and they're a toxic animal to consume on a regular basis. That's why I believe he made the rules the way he did. And some of them Jew guys got carried away back in the day, maybe on that. I don't know, man. And maybe they said, "Hey, man, if you do this, you're going straight to the inferno zone or whatever." And so they're having a contest of who could be. I don't know. So I think that maybe that was a correction on the attitude for calling people spiritually unclean when they weren't being made unclean by what they ate. They're unclean by what they came out of their mouths, what they're speaking about. So God was straightening out an issue. People getting confused on, the dirty heathens eating all them swine flesh. It's not the swine flesh that made them unclean. It was their dirty mouths or worshiping the wrong God. So he's just correcting that deal. That's my opinion on that story. I don't eat it though, because he said not to. And, the angel said you could if you want to, or he told Peter, eat this bad stuff. But if you follow the story in detail, Peter actually never did actually eat the food. It's kind of like one of them things like Abraham said too, or he told Abraham, kill him with a knife, and he never got to that point. He was trying to make a point first. I don't know if that's a horrible comparison. Forgive me if I butchered that, but
I know.
watch the video. It's way better than all that stuff I just said.
Ever since our what was it, EMP episode of the podcast, I've been struggling to eat pork.
Why? Oh, from what the guy said on that podcast?
Yeah, listen to the podcast.
He's not even a clean guy either. I try to be as clean as I can. I ain't gonna yell at people if they're not. That's my end story there.
How is that rifle Paul made for you? Albert wants to know.
It shoots good. It's I haven't got a chance to stretch it out yet because of everything that's going on. I said a backlog with the reviews and in finding a place to try to shoot like 2 miles, right? That's somewhat difficult to do. I mean, if dudes are running cattle out there, you can't just, you might not hit it, but you're going to make the guy nervous. So I'm just waiting for the correct time to actually stretch the legs on it, but it shoots really good. It's a good shooting rifle.
Hold on. Do you prepare for SHTF, WROL, etc.?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Any viable critter should be in that mindset to want to prepare for the winter or prepare for whatever, right? So any potential bad stuff that could happen, the guy should be halfway prepared for it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
What knife do you carry?
What knife do I carry? Whatever is available. Like I got this one right now.
Mm-hmm. Blue carries a knife.
This is the best tactical knife ever made. The Sheffield. A box cutting knife. Nah. Cold steel, I like the Tonto Point cold steel fixed blade. I like carbon steel blades with the full tang. With the Tonto Point, so you can stab through like car doors and stuff and rescue people by cutting through the roof of the car. I like overbuilt stuff because I tend to break things.
Blue, you should show me your knife.
Which one?
Well, pick one.
Pick one.
He carries every day, and he carries this knife every day.
In addition to your piece.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of the Gerber. This thing's pretty solid.
Or the Vaquero Grande.
Always carry a Leatherman because that's the most handy thing you will ever have.
Mm-hmm.
What else you got in your pants, Lou?
Yeah, he's got one like.
We're not going to make him pull it out because that only comes out when he's shooting people in the neck.
Fair enough.
Right, Lou?
That's a special knife.
Oh dear. Next question.
Okay.
Moving on.
Thoughts on the Tika T3X varmint 7mm. Whoa, Rem Mag, and what would people, or what would be good upgrades to do to one?
Is there a T3 varmint model and a 7mm Magnum?
I guess.
I think that's two separate questions. Maybe I'm crazy. No, the T3s are awesome. I watch guys just absolutely dominate competitions with the T3. Like guys who shot $9,000 rifles and stuff. The T3 guy beat him. So if it's the driver behind the rifle. And what was the 7mm question?
7mm Remex. Sorry, we're getting so many questions.
Yeah. Well, I like that
yet.
cartridge. That's one that I do like a lot.
I had another one. So who is the Kutis guy?
Who is Kutis?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Long story.
It's a deformed, horrible creature that should have been put out of its misery a long time ago. That's an inside joke, guys. I'm sorry.
Andrew Young keeps asking about
What
the
are
two
these?
rifles on the back wall there.
Oh yeah. That's 1898 Craig Jorgensen from when Theodore Roosevelt or whatever charged up San Juan Hill. They just got a shipment of these modern rifles in, very accurate, very nicely made rifle. And that's a 1903 Springfield. That's A3, I believe, and that's 1943 model, Marine Corps peep sight on there.
Can you load your 338 to the lands and fit it in the mag?
That depends on where the lands are, and that depends on what kind of mag you're running. But I typically load my 338 cartridges to fit reliably inside the magazine with a little bit of room to spare. If your rifle chamber is cut square, you don't have to worry about the lands. If your gunsmith did your rifle properly, that's not even really an issue. If everything's perfectly ideal and perfectly aligned axially with the bore, you can have that thing it's very insensitive to seating depth at that point. If you got some other issues, a jump, a longer jump can exacerbate certain misalignment issues when you're talking about the axial alignment of the chamber with the bore axis.
A lot of questions about Athlon.
Mm-hmm.
Athlon?
Yeah.
Athlon. Oh yeah, a dude just commented today. He's actually going to send us an Athlon scope supposedly for a review. So we're going to try one out. Okay. So stay advised. There's emailing. No, I think he's emailing my email. I don't remember. Well, so if you see it, let me know.
Okay.
Then we'll get the Athlon and we'll take a look at it. I also got a new SIG scope, and a lot of guys are asking about the high-end SIGs, the Tango 6 or whatever it is. So I was playing with that upstairs. I haven't got a chance to mount on rifle yet. Initial impressions are like, I'm such a snob with optics. I like stuff like this, like this. What is this? The Crusader? That's awesome. Or like a PM2. Oh, that's the primary arms. Yeah, that's the Platinum series. So like when you get into the Japanese scopes, I like European optics. Some of the Japanese stuff is pretty good. I think that Athlon's going to be right in the middle of the pack. Or not the Athlon, but the 6R is going to be right in the middle of the pack with other, comparative models in its competitive class, like stuff like the Vortex. And I actually like the Platinum series. I didn't break that one yet.
Do you want this one?
I broke this scope. This is, what is this? The Gen 2 Razor or whatever the heck it is. I broke that within 60 shots. And then this I broke at some point. I don't know. I bent the turret on here. So it's like all screwed up. So when you dial it around, it's like all wall-eyed and stuff. Watch this. See this? See how it's all angled, all goofy? Can you see that, Casey? Look at it. Yeah. It still works. It's just all bent out up.
How'd you get bent like that?
I'm rough with stuff, man. But this thing I didn't kill yet. They're all actually made, I think, in the same place. And if you compare some of the parts, I think that a lot of them are using the same parts too. Different, they stylize them different and have slightly different specs.
So, hi Tim.
Hi Tim.
Rex, will you ever post hunting videos?
I'm probably not. Usually when I'm hunting, I can't take a video at the same time. Because a deer, that's the thing. Real world, long range shooting applications, there ain't no time to screw around and set up a camera. Unless it's like a stage deal or you got a full-time cameraman or, something like that. But in most real life scenarios, you're going to make a command shot in 5 seconds. You're going to have to dial in, get on target, and shoot immediately. You're not going to have the ability to screw around with the camera. Unless you're in, I don't know. I won't critique the hunting shows, but I know secrets about how those are run.
Editing, right?
Yeah, they edit them a little bit.
What do you think about the TWOD 6x24x50 scope?
The TWAD?
The TWAD.
I don't know what that means.
I've never done it.
I don't know what the TWAD is.
I thought maybe you would know.
I don't know, man.
If you were going to buy a 50, what one or ones would you buy?
Okay, we answered that not too long ago. An AR-50 is probably the best value. Armalite, it's a very good value. Or if you're going to shoot a lot of vehicles trying to charge you down, then an M107.
One lost in space there. Did you see that one?
Why does Vortex suck so bad? No comment.
That's fighting words with
What
a lot
do
of
you
people. Oh dear. He's making everyone angry now. He's asking why?
Yeah.
All right, so when you're talking about optics in a class like that, what you're going to find is that it's really contingent on quality control. And for example, this is a Night Force ATACR. Reliable scopes in terms of the tracking works. The stuff usually works on them in terms of the focus. You're not going to have stuff fall apart, or it's not going to come undone in the middle. All the stuff that a guy can pull off in the field. These have a very good reputation, but it's really they have a higher quality control. When they get the parts in, they basically fit everything, especially on the higher end Night Forces like this. They custom fit everything together when they're assembling it to make sure that everything works together to add up into tracking, graduation, precision, and things like that. And then they put them through all the paces, and they make sure that everything's optically aligned properly, and they send them off, and they end up, even though it's the same parts as in a lot of way lower dollar optics, it's the labor, the manual expertise that goes into making these scopes work very good. When you talk about something like this, there's not as much of a human quality control mechanism on some of these, and what you're going to find is that sometimes they break. I've actually, the last 3 of these that I played with all broke. I'm not saying they're bad. They're really nice until you break them. Some of them work good. You're going to eventually land on one that works really good, and that's why some of these outfits have to have such a good customer service, is because that's just kind of built into the pricing. So rather than spending the money on verifying that each one is good right away, they just, they'll let you do the quality control. So I would strongly recommend, if you're getting something that's not like a tier 1 European optic, they're all going to be in that category. You're going to have to vet them. So just because you paid $2,300 on an optic doesn't mean it's going to be good automatically. You have to verify it. Put it through its paces, do a box test, use it. Make sure you use it before you plan on using it on a real mission, like on a deer or some bad guy or something. You're going to want to make darn sure your scope is vetted. And once you land on a good one that's to the proper specs and everything fits together correctly, it'll work fine. But do verify, because I have broken a lot of stuff, even good stuff. So
what about Zeiss optics?
There's 2 different kinds of Zeiss. There's like there's the Asian Zeisses. That's like your 1-inch series tubes. And then there's like Zeiss Hensoldt. The actual German Zeiss scopes are phenomenal. That's in the tier 1 category, but you're going to pay a lot of money for them. And they charge a lot too. I mean, you can get scopes of Zeiss quality for less money, like when you're talking about Hensoldt, but it's top notch if you get it with the Hensoldt, the actual German-made ones. The other ones are like any other Japanese over-the-counter sporting scope, or Chinese, or wherever they come from.
Let's see, what did Jester ask? I'm looking, Jester. Where's your question? John Davis is wondering about 1911 and modern times.
Here's a modern 1911. Check it out. It's a SIG, what is this thing, an XO? Yeah, it's the SIG XO. That's kind of cool, huh? And this is set up with this silencer on there. I had it on my Mark 23. I had to change the piston on there to, because the thread's backwards. The Mark 23 has an opposite thread, so I get confused. But yeah, these are good pistols, man. The thing is, you got to spend a lot of money on a 1911 to get one that kind of works. This thing actually was hanging up on me with that suppressor. Yeah, and I think it was the mag. This is some generic, I don't know what the heck kind of mag this is. I normally like to run like good mags in here. So a lot of the performance is going to be contingent on the magazine. Obviously, is usually what breaks these things or makes them not work right. But yeah, you got to spend more money on a 1911. You can't get like less than $700. I would be careful for an actual gun that you're going to use for defense or something.
Not the barbecue gun though.
Yeah, I mean, preferably in a 1911, you want to spend like $2,000. You know what I mean? Then you get one that's really reliable because it's a hand fit gun. James Eager did a really good video called "The 1911 Sucks," and I know that's very anathema for a lot of us because 1911 is my favorite carry weapon. I got a Kimber upstairs that I usually carry around. I think they're awesome. But he does a good explanation of why, you know, you got to have a custom guy fit the gun together. You can't really mass produce them with the same effect as they used to have when they hand fit them.
Jester was wondering, so I found this question. Is SWFA still a good scope option? I need glass for my AR-10.
Ooh, I like the fixed SWFAs. I don't really like the variables in terms of what they have to offer for the value for the price point. If you get a fixed one, you're going to have the advantage of the inherent ruggedness in any fixed optic. And SWFA fixed scopes, the last ones I've tried are still really good. I don't know. I don't care for the variables as much as the fixed powers. That's just my opinion. Not to say they're bad. They'll work fine too, but you lose a lot of the inherent ruggedness of the fixed power design. That's all in my 101 series. If you watch the fixed versus variable magnification scope videos, I explain kind of how that works.
And a lot of these questions too are found on our forums.
Yep. Yeah, we got a good forum on rexreviews.org. A lot of this stuff has really good. We got a pretty elite clientele that visits those forums, and they're really smart. They usually don't say crazy stuff on there, like you might. Well,
now we're inviting trouble.
No, now they're going to prove me wrong.
But we do have a really good forum, and a lot of these questions, I mean, a lot of questions get asked a lot, and a lot of those repeating questions are found on the forum.
Yeah, most of the people that come to our seminars are like really serious shooters, like really squared away, smart, intelligent, engineering-minded type guys who have been studying it forever. And that's the kind of crowd we got on the forums for the most part. And so check that out.
What brand of scope do you recommend for less than $300? Variable power for hunting deer out to 300 yards or so.
Oh, sure.
Maybe farther on coyotes on a top of a 243.
That's a good question. I would like to differentiate my scope snob leanings. If you're talking tactical long-range applications, you have to spend a lot of money to get something good. If you're talking about deer hunting at 300 yards and less, you can use all kinds of stuff. I got a Simmons on one of my rifles back there, I think is what it is.
We put a Simmons on an old 22 a while ago, and that thing shoots like a dream.
Yeah. There's a lot of those. That's where you can really look at some. Nikon makes good stuff for under $300. I think that's generally a pretty good way to go. Bushnell actually has some pretty good stuff, you know, and the companies have been around for a long time, so they've been at the game. They got people who's working at their plants that really know what's going on. A lot of this stuff is imported, you know, too, but you can basically get whatever looks nice when you're looking through the glass, you know, get something that's clear and bright and all that. And, you know, optics have been so well refined in the last 20 years, even from Asia. Like the stuff that was the high quality American stuff 30 years ago is getting its butt kicked by the cheap Asian like Walmart scopes now, because the tooling and the technology and the optics grinding has been very well advanced to the point to where they can do it in Asia for way cheaper because they got slave labor over there. So you can get a decent hunting scope for under $100 probably. And I'm not in that market currently, but I've got a lot of cheap stuff that doesn't even have a brand name on it. There's a scope upstairs on the kitchen table that came on the Remington 223 that we got for Mrs. Rex. And there's no brand name. It just says 4 to 12. And it works
like
fine.
Nothing even written on
you
there.
dial it in. It's pretty much close. You get it tuned in. You hit it with a screwdriver a few times. It stays zeroed for hunting, man. It works fine. You can see what you're shooting at. You can shoot shotgun shell empties at 100 yards with it. It's not a problem.
Okay, this one's for Lou from Nader Tater.
Uh-oh.
Lou, what is your favorite setup for your long-range rifle?
Whatever Rex hands me. I shoot whatever he's got.
Right. So
Smart answer, Lou.
Rex, do you see the Matrix?
Do I see the Matrix?
Well, he said,
Franco.
Rex, come on. Do you see the Matrix?
Hmm.
Hmm.
The Matrix is all around us.
That it is.
You feel it when you go to church. You smell it when you eat your Cheerios. What's the line from
You smell
Morpheus?
it, especially when you wear
Yeah, you
leather
smell it when you
jackets.
put on the 1973 stage uniform. I don't remember.
I don't know.
Yeah, we're actually in the Matrix right now because we're flying through a wire at your face.
Yeah, how about that?
That's the Matrix, guys. We're in the Matrix now. So, yeah, I see it. I'm looking at it right there.
North Georgia says, Rex, how far have you hit with the Springfield on the wall?
300. I never, like, pushed it. I just, I shot 300 yards. It hits good at 300 to keep up with the bolt action if you have good vision.
Are Steiner's reliable scopes?
Yes.
What about that last one there, November 4th?
Is Rex eating popcorn or on patrol?
Dude, November 4th. A lot of you know what we're talking about. I ain't gonna say the word. There's a certain group of turkeys that has a party. Yeah, I ain't saying who it is because they will kill the video if you say it.
Oh.
It happened to Jaeger. But there's a certain group of turkeys that think that's going to be a fun plan. Knock yourselves out, guys. I mean, seriously. I don't think there's probably more than 3 of them within a 500-mile radius of where we're at.
True.
Because we're like in the deep up north type areas where there's not a lot of them guys. But I mean, if they wanted to try something, I think it'd be adorable. It's Halloween's coming up, so after Halloween they're going to still have their Halloween uniforms and they can go around and they can play army or whatever they want to do, like 12-year-old boys. That's fine. Yeah, I'm not worried about it. Now, I mean, not to poo-poo. I mean, there's some areas where it could be a bad deal. So let's just hope that I'm just saying it's not going to be good for them, though.
Well, there's no reason for conflict like that in today's day and age. Man.
Well, yeah. Sure there is.
Things are just too hunky-dory and we create problems out of nothing to give us something to do.
True that. That's the real story.
Yeah, dude. No, I'm not worried about it at all. It's like we talked about in the video, why you don't need to be scared of terrorists.
Yeah.
Because in the video, it's the same gun right here, see? Because you just pull one of these out, you point it right at them, and you shoot them right in the neck. And then the terrorist is completely done. There's no reason to be scared of other humans if you're well armed and equipped, okay? Did I go on a rant there? What are they saying?
Somebody said puts on the suppressor.
Well, I was trying to. I was slow.
Nothing to worry
I thought I
about
screwed it on backwards. That stupid Mark 23 has me all thrown off. I got too many rounds to the Mark 23. Backwards threading.
So, round shot Magnum for 338.
Yes. Yep, that's what I run. It measures good. You don't have to watch it so close. I still measure each round, but it measures really nice. Like I do exactly 90 grains with my 300 Sierras, and it just I use the hand. I don't use the electronic trickler. I like to hand measure it so I can dissect each grain with an X-Acto knife and a magnifying glass. No, I'm old school. I don't like electronic. Like if I can't measure out loads because I have an electronic scale that's not working, I like to have old analog equipment because I have a good imagination.
And you're a dinosaur.
And I'm a dinosaur.
Gary wants to know, is it important to lap scope rings when mounting?
If your scope rings are crooked as hell, then you need to do that. If you're using modern bases, like a one-piece base and high-quality scope rings, there's no need for it. Where that came in is where you have goofy receivers where you got a gunsmith like in a convert and a Mauser, and these two screws are pointing this way and the other ones are pointing this way, and then the rings are like this. And yeah, this is going to be a trick getting that thing lined up. Then you have to lap them. But if you got to run a one-piece base with good quality rings, there's no problem there.
What's the counter sniper report on Las Vegas?
That's a shitty situation, guys.
Thoughts on Lee? I think they mean Lou reloading equipment or Lee.
I've used Lee for a long time. I had like the Challenger press, like $27 when I first got it. I broke it like 10 times before I finally upgraded the RCBS. They work fine. I've reloaded bazillions of rounds with it. If you're careful with it, and there's certain parts that will break. There's pot metal parts where the cams on the lever that you pull down. There's stuff you'll break. A lot of the other tools work great, like the Lee. What do you call them? The trimming tools. We have the insert that goes in the case, and you trim the mouths of the case. I still use those. I mean, they got a lot of handy stuff. You don't need to buy the most expensive stuff to get the job done right.
How do you like the Tabor or Tavor?
The Tavor, it's cute. Hey, want to grab one right there? This is one of my desk guns that I keep.
Somebody was wondering how many guns are on the
Up
desk
here?
in front of
There's
us.
A
there.
lot.
we can't disclose that kind of information.
Yeah.
I don't think we can count that high, actually.
But this is the Tavor. This is the newer model. It has the mag release here on the side, see? And we got the TA44 Trigicon on there. And this has a little ACSS dot in there. It's just got like a semicircle, and then it has a few different aiming points, and it has actual, you can range with this thing. And so the TA44 is like a 1.5 power optic, and it's when this is red, so it glows like a red dot. And so when you lift it up, it's like very, very similar to a red dot optic. So you can shoot bad guys coming in through the window right there, or down the stairs, or whatever, point blank range kind of stuff easily. And if you want to lay down outside all of a sudden and shoot like one of the Malua Fudge Bar guys, or maybe one of their friends, you just lay down and you get real steady, and then you can deliver a pretty precise fire out to like 400 and 500 yards. So it's a red dot and a scope that works at 400 or 500 yards. No batteries to ever go dead. So I really like it, actually, for a short little rifle like this. Small footprint, pretty good weapon.
BA-50 good rifle?
BA-50, which one is that?
I'm not sure.
I'm trying to remember.
Jim.
Oh, the Savage, right? No. What?
5R rifling.
Which one is the BA-50?
BA-50. Jim, what do you mean by that?
You guys will have to forgive Rex. He had a spinal column problems earlier this week. So the doc finally put me on a medication. I never, ever take Tylenol, but they put me on one that makes me a little bit sleepy. So I don't know what a BA-50 is.
Bushmaster.
Oh, yeah, the Bushmaster. Sure. I don't got a lot of trigger time on. I prefer Barrett's. And I think the best value for the buck is really the Armalite. It's cheap, and it's a pussycat to handle. But for each his own, if you can make it shoot. I mean, really, when you're talking about rifle selection, it's not contingent upon the rifle, usually. Usually it's like if you're talking about equipment selection, the downfall is always the optic, usually, because guys will go cheap on the optic. The rifles are usually all going to hold their ground just fine. And then the shooter and your data is the other thing, you know.
So In the Shape of Human asked a couple times, can you take us through your shooting formula? What do you calculate for first?
Sure. So when you're gonna, all right, so you got to know how far the target is. You got to determine the distance to the target. You do that with, you want to cross-check it a few different ways. You get visual estimation just by using your intuition, so you have a good idea. And then you cross-check it. You can use a laser if you're available to use laser on the battlefield. Some sophisticated enemies are equipped to detect lasers, so you may have to employ an actual ranging formula using the mills of your scope or trigonometric functions based on a theodolite. Whatever you're doing, you got to determine the distance to target number one. That will give you your base elevation adjustment and your actual gravitational drop. That is set for standard designated conditions on your tables that you zero the rifle for, and then you've got to go through the steps. Typically, you're going to have a barometric pressure correction. You're going to have muzzle velocity correction. You're going to have ambient air temperature correction. Now, there's different ways you can do it. If you want to be more streamlined, you can set up density altitude set of tables, but then that requires specialized equipment to determine your density altitude, or you'll have to understand how to approximate that based on your conditions. So there's different ways to skin the cat. For guys that are going to be planning on being totally autonomous in a situation where you might not have electronic backup, you're going to want all those things spaced apart so you can intuitively estimate the air temperature, and you can see at what general altitude you're operating at. And you'll be able to determine those things relatively easily and adjust for that. But you got to adjust for that. You're going to, another part in there is you're going to have to adjust for angle of fire, obviously. So after you determine your range, you got to determine which part's the true range, what part's the actual horizontal range, and your true range is going to be the actual distance from you to the target. That's what you based all your atmospheric corrections on. All your geospatial stuff and your super elevation type stuff is going to be based on the actual horizontal range. So there's, I mean, I got a video, I think it's part 77, calculating firing solutions. That's a good video.
Somebody had mentioned
Watch it.
something about HK. Do you think that HK hates people? Is there a reason that people are saying they
HK
hate
hates
people?
us. I don't know.
Well, somebody asked a
Probably because
question.
they're a big German manufacturer that doesn't. Yeah, the guy just said it right there. I think HK in German. Yeah.
Yeah. So Robert, who got ran over by a garbage truck, he told us. But Robert says, I think HK in German doesn't approve of civilians owning their products. They'd freak out seeing me with one.
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm not
there's a
sure.
lot of gun companies that have the attitude they just want to sell to soldiers and police.
Mhm.
HK is one of them, I believe. Yeah. You know, that's one of the reasons I didn't like Smith & Wesson, because they kind of farted out. Colt had the same attitude for a while there back in the 90s, and now it's Springfield Armory's like, oh, yeah, we're going to like be on the side of the gun control people. So typically I tell those people to kiss my ass and I don't buy their stuff anymore unless they really make a superior product. Like in the case of Smith & Wesson, nobody makes a double action revolver that works that good, in my opinion. I mean, in Colt makes a really nice one too, but it's hard to beat like a 686. So I'm like, well, you're lucky you built such a good revolver, because I'm still going to have that one.
Warsaw Patriots has asked quite a few times about the G36C carbine from HK.
Yeah, supposedly they're a finicky little bugger. That's what Eduardo was telling me. We went up to Toledo and in Spain, and they have a museum there, and they actually have all the different variations, like from the original Spanish version that was like the Setme, right? And then the G3 was made, and the HK91, and then they had the evolution all the way up into the brand new models and stuff. And he does a lot of training with some guys over there, and I don't know, maybe it's awesome.
So somebody else wanted to know too, do you own any HKs? Do you have any?
Yeah, I got a few. Yep.
Also, just a side note on the garbage truck story with Robert, he was saved by his Don't Tread on Me hoodie.
Oh, awesome.
Any chance we'll see equipment updates on the Sniper 101 series?
Equipment updates. Yeah, that's a good idea. We could redo the scope videos. There's a lot of new stuff that came out since then. Some people have accused me of affecting the market pressure on that. And so, like, there's a lot of new stuff that actually, back when they produced those, for example, the scope videos, there wasn't a lot of options of stuff that would work. Now there's all kinds of new outfits that produce stuff that's configured that way. So, yeah, we could probably update that at some point.
Fun Ghost says, do people ever bring semi-autos to your class?
Yeah, we had a couple. Yep, one of them did really well. The other guy had to borrow a bolt action because it was having problems with the barrel staying on a quick detach barrel. But yeah.
Has anyone ever used golfing rangefinder?
I don't know. I sure didn't. A golfing rangefinder?
Rex, you plan on doing a DMR series? Yep.
In the works. Top secret, though. Don't tell anybody.
Red Leg said that you have an MK23? So Abby Kubelis, we're going to bring this up again.
All right, we're going to do 3 more, guys. 3 more questions.
What's the hate for Vortex? We kind of went over that. It's not really hate. It's just...
I don't hate anybody. I like European glass, guys. That's what I'm saying.
By the way, Casey, congrats on
Or if it's Japanese, it better be done right.
Thanks, Nader. I'm famous. So do you think of using an AR in 233 for long-range marksman shooting?
Well, yeah, you can do that, because long range for a 223 is going to be like 600. That's pretty long range for that. You're not going to have a lot of power either, though, too. So, I mean, it's somewhat limited. It's not a long-range round. But you can try to shoot at 800. I've shot stuff at 800 yards, or even probably couldn't really confirm that you actually hit it at 1,000. But, yeah, wind is what's going to kill you on a 223. And terminal energy performance if you're shooting at an animate target.
So when can we expect a Kill Santa video? He's still around, you know.
We already did that, didn't we?
No, I thought we blew him up with an airstrike.
Yeah, we got rid of Santa. He's got other workers. He's got those elves.
Mousy shot him right through the shoulder, and then I shot him with the AK.
Yep.
And then you called an artillery barrage.
Check out that video.
Yeah, that's already been done.
Especially for the holiday season.
Maybe I'll post it up there.
Had also asked about Rex's music. It is available for purchase. Some of the songs are available for purchase on rexreviews.org. So if you want some of Rex's music, log on there. And they're $2 a song, so they're a great deal. And then North Georgia Warsaw, North Georgia Preparedness wanted to know, he asked a couple times, why you don't train military snipers? Do you want to answer that one?
Next question.
Next question. 5R rifling versus conventional button.
Oh, 5R rifling, I like it. The last barrel I did has 5R rifling. It's a Muller Works on a 308 20-inch barrel, really heavy contour. It works good. In all reality, there's no magic rifling that's going to make it shoot better than the other, in all honesty. Conventional, standard rifling is going to have groups that could be this big or this big. Same thing with 5R. You could have it be this big or this big of groups. It's not going to be the primary contingent factor in any system. They're subtle. The differences between those types of things are very subtle. I like 5R for the advertised reasons why they say it's better. So I sometimes I buy in on the what do you call it, the story, but in all reality, it's not going to get you to shoot better.
Scott Butler is tuning in from Australia, and he's asked us a couple times now when we're coming to visit him.
Man, we're hoping, 2018 is looking like it could happen. So if we can round up enough interest in Australia, folks want us to come down there, that's kind of in the works. We're talking to a few different outfits there, so do stay tuned for the Australia announcement.
Let's do just one last question.
One last question,
Make
guys.
it a good one.
Oh, we could do this all night, though, guys. This
I
is
know.
a good time.
I need to eat something. I want a big piece of meat. Is there like some beef upstairs, man?
I hope so.
Oh,
I could eat a cow. I just
I'm
can't
gonna
eat a
eat me a
pig right
ribeye. Gonna barbecue for freedom.
now. No, nope. Sorry. Picking a good question, guys.
I thought there was a good one. Scroll up a little bit there. One cup.
The tenseness of the anticipation of the question.
Ooh, what's your plans for after YouTube bans you?
After YouTube bans me? Well, that's kind of why we're doing other things lately, actually.
Yeah, buddy.
They're already banning me, by the way. You guys don't see what happens behind the scenes, but they're like, now this month they're showing all the videos are demonetized, and they're showing what levels of offensiveness you have. So if I put in the title of a video anything about a firearm or a rifle, boom, demonetized. They didn't used to be like that, so they're really cutting down. You got to get creative with how you advertise the videos, what thumbnails you use. I'm pretty good at cryptology and anticipating their algorithms, so I still got quite a few of them monetized. But dude, it's coming down hard. That deal's gonna be gone. I'll probably throw my stuff up on one of the alternative, like Full 30 or what's that, Patreon? What are they? Patreon or whatever. So yeah, we're gonna use the alternative media sites too, so the videos will be up there. We're not going to have the same base probably that we do around here unless you guys switched over there. But we're working on curriculum for commercial training and other projects like that as well. And so stay tuned for that.
And stay tuned via rexreviews.org.
Yeah,
it might actually be awesome if I wasn't on the computer all the time, to be honest. Like, it would be awesome to kill the YouTube page and just kick back and actually get into shape again. Like, having two butt jobs at the same time is killing me, man. Like, you got one smart guy job where you're like, oh, I'm a smart guy. I know things. I sit down and type, okay, that's good for 9 hours a day. Then the rest of the hours of the night, you got to go and be a smart guy on the computer with the gun stuff, And all that ass time is really hard on a guy's health. And so, it wouldn't be that bad of a deal if they would do that. I'd go back to my old operational status, which is crazy guy in the woods that you don't see that shoots stuff a lot. Oh yeah, I'll do reviews for me and the 6 people I hang out with then.
I'm just linking some stuff for
no,
you guys.
I do love you guys, and I don't plan on doing that. They'll have to force my hand. No, we're doing the commercial stuff. That's why you do want to get in on the rexreviews.org newsletter, because for all the hardcore people, when stuff goes bad, when they really get bad, we're going to want to be able to communicate. So if you get on our mailing list on the newsletter, we can keep in touch and as stuff goes on. In the podcast show as well, that's going to stay up. We actually own that. We own our podcast show. We put that up, and they haven't been really pinching down on that so much lately. So that's going to be, it's going to gravitate from the videos to the podcast. podcast can be found at rexreviews.org under the podcast button. And that's all on iTunes as well and other platforms like that. So SoundCloud.
And
Yep.
SoundCloud. It's also like if you have any of the apps where you can listen to a podcast, it should automatically be generated on those as well.
And just a final word too, guys. It would be awesome if you're on the West Coast. If you want to come train with us, like I'm saying, we have no idea what the future holds in store. Who knows? You know, like if God willing, we're all still around by the time that comes. We'll be able to do it. So do sign up for the RX-18 live fire. That's in Central California at the Avenal Gun Range. And you can find details for that specific class at rexreviews.org under the training tab. So if you've taken the seminar especially, you probably better jump on that while you can. And if you haven't, then you can do a training inquiry at realrexreviews@gmail.com. And we'll get you all squared away. It'd be fun to hang on. Basically, we turned Casey into a freaking ninja within like 2 days. So day one, how many rounds have you fired when you first started on the class?
3. Or no, 6.
6.
6 total. Yep.
6 total rounds out of a rifle in your life.
3 the first time ever, and that was just at 100 yards, and we were pretty much sighting in that gun.
And that was at Lou's top secret location.
Yep.
Then you came to RX-17 live fire, and then what happened?
And then we did,
at the live fire in Texas?
At the live fire in Texas, then I went from like shooting 6 times ever. We sighted in my gun. We had no idea where it would shoot. I had a budget rifle, so we did not go all out on my equipment. I didn't.
She was shooting a 308, had kind of a handicap. The other guys were shooting a lot of 6.5s and stuff like that. But you had the 308, yep.
That, and then I was first in line, so I didn't get to watch anybody or cheat off anybody or see like, oh, he shot here.
Very first squad, very first shooter of every drill.
So yeah, so I was the first one out there, so I really had to rely on my fundamentals that I learned with those first 6 shots that I ever did. And I did make it out to 1,000 yards, and I was nailing, like, for me.
She actually did good, dude. Like the very first drill where we actually shot past 100 was on day 2 after we get everything perfectly squared away with the data, and we got her out there, and
it was 800 yards.
You got 2 shots to engage the target at 800 yards, and we thought, yeah, most folks is going to have a hard time because you know it's hard to shoot at that distance with the wind going on.
Well,
you know, you got a switchy wind back and forth.
We're shooting at 100 yards before that, so this is first time ever shooting out that far.
We're going to verify the dope we made for you last night on your new charts, right?
Yeah.
And so you dialed it in, and
I dialed it in and just held for wind, and I shot out to 800 and nailed it both times.
It was amazing.
It was.
So my confidence as far as like after the class where I'm comfortable shooting with a 308 is 800 yards, but I feel like with a good spotter I could do 1,000.
Couple of questions on here about Patreon. Are we set up on there yet?
We are, but we don't have incentives for you guys yet. So if you want to donate, I would go to rexreviews.org and hit that donate button until we can get incentives for Patreon. We're working on maybe some t-shirts and stickers and stuff for you guys, but logistically we just don't have them yet. So give us a little bit of time and then we'll be up on Patreon and you can start earning some sweet gear and fun stuff.
Rock and roll, guys.
Thanks for everything. It was fun hanging out with everybody and awesome questions and just an awesome community out there. And thank you.
Take everything we say with a grain of salt. We're just human beings. There are certain things we did a lot more of, you know, back in the day, like shooting stuff, whatever. So we hope our commentary is helpful. It's just a discussion. You know, don't hold me to any of my religious quotes. Do read everything for yourself. Try to verify that it's all true, indeed. Double check it in the reloading book and in the good book. Okay? Don't hold my feet to the fire on that deal. We're just having a discussion. But thanks for tuning in, and we will be ready for a podcast show relatively soon here, next couple weeks probably. Stay tuned for that. Sign up for the newsletter, and if you can make it to RX-18 for St. Patrick's Day, we'd love to see you guys out there.
Yes, absolutely do it. Oh, also, if anybody out there is going to be at SHOT Show, you will see Lou and I there. We are going to be guest speakers at a couple tables, so look for us on the pamphlet.
They're going to be covering for old Rex at the SHOT Show this year, so if you see these guys wandering around, do corner them.
Yeah, absolutely. Ask us questions, or you can also contact us and talk to us about the upcoming event and what you'll need and that sort of thing. So we will be there. Hope to see you there. You guys have a great day.
Rock and roll, guys. We'll catch you around the next campfire.
Bye.